Russell. Happy to be here.
It's always good to see you, my dude. I'm glad you could find some time between all the football and baseball going on to come and join the stream.
Well, it hasn't started yet. It's still in the afternoon while we're taping this. But yeah, man, October's got to be the best sports month, hands down. I know a lot of people go towards springtime with like when hockey playoffs start and the Masters and all that, which also is awesome. But I think like right now, with hockey season starting, baseball playoffs in full swing, basketball coming up, F1 is done from their break. It's just an awesome time of the year to be a sports fan.
Yeah, I call it a 1A, 1B kind of situation because I really do like the spring, but it's hard to decide between those two things, so I get it.
Yeah, 100%. Like you can't go wrong with either just because like it goes up a notch when NHL playoffs start, right? And like the weather turns, right? It's getting a little warmer, you just kind of feel a little better. But there's something about October and the rain. Like we're gonna get a good dose of rain right now, Russell. Hockey season, indoors, couch time. It's great.
So let's start off. Let's talk about Manny and his coaching staff because obviously they did get their extension, so they will be back for another couple of years here. But the task is similar in some ways to last year and different in others. With the AHL, the roster turnover can be quite expansive. What have you been hearing from Manny and his staff so far through training camp and the prospects or the split squad game about what their plan is kind of moving into the beginning of this season?
Yeah, well, this time of year, Russell, as you know, there's a lot of new faces coming in at different times, right? And obviously, NHL rosters had to be in a couple days ago, and so the few stragglers that got sent down are now with their AHL teams. But then again, we saw guys move back and forth just due to like cap restrictions and teams trying to utilize that full LTIR. So it seems like all the teams now have their roster set in stone for opening night, but that can change. Like Abbotsford's lineup that they think they have set for Friday could change because Vancouver plays on Thursday. If someone goes down, next thing you know, someone's got to come back from Vegas to join the Vancouver Canucks, and that's just like every other team in the National Hockey League. So Abbotsford and Vancouver is no different. So it seems like the coaching staff is kind of ready for anything. Amazing thing about last year's Calder Cup championship, Russell, is that there's only one guy on Manny's staff that had coaching experience at the pro level. That was Jordan Smith, who spent 2 years as an assistant in Springfield. So you had Manny, Harry Mahesh, the video coach Andrew Shaw, the goaltending coach Justin Pogge. None of those guys ever coached in pro hockey before. And so the way they're able to just like not only compete all year, but have it all come together at the right time in late spring and going into the playoffs and then winning a Calder Cup with such an inexperienced coaching staff just speaks to the type of guys that they have in there, keeping the room together. And having the ability for Ryan Johnson to bring them all back and learn from their mistakes last year, what was a championship season.
Mhm.
I'm excited to see what they can do because, like a lot of teams in the AHL, there's a lot of new faces, a lot of rookies getting their feet wet in the pros for the first time, and it's going to take some time. Right, it never goes smoothly at the start. The lineup is in flux. There's a lot of players you're carrying on the roster. You want to get young guys in, but at the same time, you don't want to rush them. So these first 4 to 6 weeks can be a bit scrambly. And I think coming into their now second year, Manny, Harry, Jordan, um, the guys on the bench at least will have their ducks in a row and can prepare a little bit better to what to expect in their second year as Abbey Canucks coaches.
Yeah, I guess having a little bit of a better start to the year might do well for this team as they did get very, very hot in the last half of the season last year before winning the Calder Cup. So maybe make it a little easier on themselves, picking up some points early in the season might be a good idea.
Yeah, no, it's always kind of a crapshoot on how teams are going to start. You look at the roster, like I said, it looks great now, but that can change. And at the end of the day, Abbotsford has a short training camp. They never play any preseason games where other teams in the AHL do. They just had that one inter squad game in Chilliwack, and the next one they're going to play is for keeps, right? So um, parlay that with they had to travel to get to Vegas, so they lose a practice day. But at the end of the day, they're not going to make any excuses. I was at practice on Tuesday, and they were working them hard. Manny was having the guys dialed in. He was shouting at guys, keeping them honest. There was one player who was kind of lagging on a bag skate, and Manny let him know, and that kind of woke me up too. I was sitting in the car, I'm like, "Wow, I've never heard Manny do that before." So he's keeping guys on their toes, whether they're veterans and rookies, because now it's time to play. 2 points are on the line here this weekend in Vegas, and obviously they want to win, but at the same time they want to develop the players like they did so well last year.
Yeah. Developing players, something they seem to have a really good knack for down there in Abbotsford, with everyone being able to step in the lineup when they're called up to the Vancouver Canucks for injuries and all that kind of stuff. A guy we saw a lot of last year, Kudrtavtsev, looks to probably take a more of a leadership role in this team as one of the returning guys on that defensive end, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. And it's crazy to say that because he's just 21 years old. But what we saw from him last year, I don't see why he wouldn't be an absolute staple in the lineup, because last year, Russell, during the regular season and in playoffs, there was a numbers game someone had to sit. And at the end of the day, it's usually a rookie like Kirill, who was a late round pick, probably the easy choice. Obviously, he preferred not to happen, but he understands how things work. And he thought he might be starting the ECHL last year, so I think maybe he was just kind of happy to be there.
Mhm.
But as soon as we saw him from game one, like you can tell, like he's got that bulldog mentality. He works extremely hard. He does a lot of things well. He's someone that is still obviously growing and developing. But to have someone like that go through what they did, the trials and tribulations, not being a regular in the lineup, to being one of the go-to guys as the playoffs went on, and having the best plus minus and one of the top point producing defensemen among all skaters in the AHL playoffs, and at the ripe age of 21. I think that the sky's the limit for this kid, and I just know that the teammates just love having him around. He works hard off the ice. He's a great personality, loves to chat. He's very honest, which is very refreshing. Too many athletes these days, Russell, as I'm sure you know, in all sports, keep things tight to the vest and just say like generic answers. Kirill's not like that. He'll tell you how it is. And he holds himself to a high standard. And being under the tutelage of Manny Malhotra and his defensive coach Jordan Smith has just done wonders for his development. And him getting a taste of NHL action at the end of last regular season was a great confidence boost for him. And I know he really loved his time up there, and would love to get up there again at some point this year.
So another young guy. Well, it seems like maybe the whole defense is going to be young guys, especially with Wu and Breezewell out to start this year. There's opportunities, especially for a guy who also got a taste last year in the AHL, especially in the playoffs with Sawyer Mynio, who looks like he maybe came to camp a little bit bigger than he was before. Do you think Sawyer Mynio has the chance to stay with this team, or do you think there is something to be said for sending him back down to the minor, or sorry, the CHL for the season?
I definitely expect him to have a good chance to stick. He's one of the few youngsters that they kept throughout the entire Calder Cup playoffs. Like in the first and second rounds last year, Russell, they had like Jackson Coons, Vilmer Ulrichsen were part of the playoff roster, like black aces, right? They were pretty much just skating every day. They weren't getting to the lineup. Where Sawyer Minio stuck with the team right into the very end. He was on the ice when they handed their Calder Cup out. So they wanted him to get that experience around being that playoff environment and kind of see firsthand what it takes to go through the rigors of the playoffs. And so that just shows how highly they think of him, and rightfully so, because he had an excellent junior career with mainly the Seattle Thunderbirds, teammates with Braden Coots, and then got traded last year at the deadline to the Calgary Hitmen. He was a big addition for them. And awesome little cherry on top is he's a BC guy from Kamloops. So being able to play for his home pro team, home province team at least, is pretty cool. And he's got a great skill set. I'm glad you brought him up. I'm very excited to see what he can do. He's gotten a little taste of AHL action, not a whole lot, maybe like a game or two under his belt in his career when his junior seasons came to an end. He's joined the Abbotsford Canucks twice now, and I think they're ready to take the leash off and see what this kid can do.
Another guy that might have his leash taken off a little bit is the last defenseman I'll ask you about. Another young guy, Tom Willander, who is now gone from playing in the the Vancouver Canucks training camp, being moved down to the AHL. probably a good thing for him to be starting down there. It looked like he was maybe just a little bit behind up there in the NHL training camp. Will be really good for him to be working with these other young guys and also being developed by the Manny coaching staff.
Yeah, it's never a bad thing, Russell, to play some games in the AHL. Like, there's a lot of great players, Hall of Famers started in the AHL to develop and work on their craft, especially a young guy like him. Um, Having the opportunity, like you said, to learn from Manny Malhotra and his staff. We saw what they did with Elias Pettersson, DP. Um, just had an absolute ascension with his development to the point where they had no choice but to call him up and keep him there. And now he's on the opening night roster, which isn't a shock. And I just hope Canucks fans don't have that type of expectations for everybody. What Elias did last year is pretty much an outlier. Usually, especially like defensemen that are young, they like to let them marinate a bit in AHL and really learn the pro game. So I hope that people, if maybe Willander struggles, it's going to happen. There's going to be probably a rookie wall that he hits. It's very common. I'd be shocked if it doesn't. It's just there's so many new things going on for him to learn. And I met him and interviewed him, which people here on the broadcast, if they're not watching this interview, Russell, they hear it on my broadcast from Henderson. I wanted to talk to Tom before they left to Vegas because the team left on Wednesday. And I just came away blown away with what he said. One thing that stuck out, I always ask like young guys, like, hey, like who do you model your game after, whether it's a forward or defenseman? 99.9% of the time, the player will name someone like, oh, I love Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, Haskin, or if it's forward, like I love McDavid or like Jack Eichel. Tom Willander said nobody. And I was just like, oh, okay. You don't mold your game after anybody. And then we just kind of went along with the interview. He gave an answer as to why. He said,
Yeah.
like, the game's changing so much, like you can't waste your time like just watching one guy and trying to beat him. And he's like, I'm my own man. And then when I clicked end on the recorder, I said, no one's ever said that before. And that was actually so refreshing to hear. And then he he explained more like why he said like he doesn't try to model his game after anybody. He's himself. He's not trying to beat Quinn Hughes. He's always just trying to develop his own game. Obviously, like he admires people. We talked about Quinn Hughes and what he can learn from a guy like that at training camp and had some great things to say, but he's not trying to be him. He's trying to be Tom Willander. So just to hear that type of honesty from a young guy like him was very refreshing. And we saw what he can do. In the preseason, he looked very good. He didn't look out of place. And he's going to play a lot, Russell, with the Abbotsford Canucks, you would think. Power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, especially with Jet Wu and Guillaume Brisebois out for a little while. I think Tom's going to get a lot of action to start.
So one guy that hasn't really made the radar for many Canucks fans, but I think is an interesting piece that they picked up in a trade with Pittsburgh. Chase Stillman made some people take notice in the Vancouver Canucks training camp. How's he looked so far practicing down with Abbotsford?
He's looked great. I wasn't sure what to expect. Russell, this is a guy that got traded twice last year in a short amount of time. And I'm sure that's kind of a shell shock for him when he gets the news, like, I got traded again. Like I just got dealt. But I heard him say in an interview, I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet. I'm looking forward to talking with Chase here in the near future. But I was just like reading some interviews that he did. And like he's thinking of it like a team wants him, right? Whereas like they're asking for him in a trade, which is a feather in his cap, which I think is a great way to go about it because some guys get traded like, oh my God, screw that team. Like I was a good soldier for them. I played well. Why did they trade me? Whereas Chase is looking at the opposite end of the spectrum. Like this team wants me. I'm going to go there and work. I'm going to compete. At the end of the day, like he's a former first round pick, still relatively young. Looking to carve out an NHL career. He hasn't played any games yet, but I really like what he brought to the table in the preseason in Vancouver's camp. I know coaches really liked it, and just like being on social media, fans really noticed Chase Stillman, and he has a great work ethic, a good skill set, and I can definitely see him working his way up the pecking order as the season goes along. Because when he's out there, you notice him. That's all you can ask for if you're a player. Like you don't want to just go through the motions and blend in. You notice Chase Stillman.
So the other one that I thought I was really looking forward to was Ty Mueller. Obviously, ended up getting hurt in the Vancouver Canucks training camp because I thought he, maybe turned some heads too. He's back practicing now. How's he looking after obviously being stopped by injury starting this September?
Yeah, tough break for Ty. He shed the non-contact jersey and skating with the team, so that's obviously a very promising sign. And yeah, just feel bad for the kid because he had such a great year, AHL All-Star, won a Calder Cup championship, played a ton of minutes under Manny Malhotra, got NHL games under his belt, and then he got hurt before training camp and never got like the fair shot. And like I was telling people behind the scenes, like I would not be surprised if Ty Mueller made the Vancouver opening night roster. Like that's how highly I think of him, and I know that the organization thinks highly of him too. Don't get it twisted; like they love Ty Mueller. So it's unfortunate to get to play any preseason games and working his way back from injury, but hopefully he picks up right where he left off to start this AHL campaign. He's definitely someone that has a great work ethic and did a great job in rehab and making sure that he can be ready for the start of the season. And just like last year, he's going to play a ton. Him and Max Aston are the top two centers. And Ty was someone that played kind of all over the lineup last year at the start. Fourth line wing, third line center, and then as the year went on, he started to build and build towards being a top six guy. He's never going to fill the net up with a ton of points. That's not what he does. He never has done that at any point of his career. It's his 200-foot game and the reliability that he brings and versatility to a lineup, which Manny Malhotra loves, Ryan Johnson loves, and obviously Alvin and Rutherford because they drafted him. So I would not be shocked if he gets more NHL games this year.
Last one I'll ask you about, not a Vancouver Canuck or an Abbotsford Canuck anymore, unfortunately, but did get his NHL debut, his season debut with the Pittsburgh Penguins on Tuesday night, getting a shutout. Arturs Silovs, how happy were you for that beautiful man to get a shutout in his very first start for the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Well, Russell, not surprising, is it? He never ceases to amaze. Usually he waits until like May or April or May, June to really turn it on a notch. Maybe he's decided like, you know what, I'm going to come out the gates, guns a blazing, because we saw last year when he started the year with Vancouver, it didn't really go well, and obviously that kind of screwed him up a little bit, and then found his way back to Abbotsford before regaining his confidence, and then we saw what he done in the Calder Cup playoffs. The rest is history, and it seems like he just kind of woke up and from the Calder Cup run and said, I'm just going to keep doing it with Pittsburgh. So, not a complete surprise at all. Great kid, works hard, and I think Pittsburgh's going to love him.
My hot take for the season is Silovs gets Crosby back in the playoffs.
Ooh, that is a hot take. Well, if game one is any indication, Russell, you might be right.
Yeah, but that also might be because I also think the Rangers are going to be terrible this year, but that's neither here nor there.
Hey, if going in that game, if you go to pick either Shesterkin or Silovs getting a shutout, who you picking?
Yeah, you're probably going with Shesterkin, right? Unless you're a Canucks
That's how you
fan.
play the games.
Yeah. Awesome, Brandon. Thank you very much for joining us today. It's lovely always having you on the show, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, anytime. Enjoy the hockey season. Thanks, Russell.
Nothing is perfect.